Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Cay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? Hope everyone's enjoying themselves on this Monday morning and you have a great week. Today we're discussing dating with kids, single parents, or somebody dating a single parent, whether dads, moms, male, female. It can be a struggle for all of us to date if we have kids or somebody else that has kids. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of all of that today. But first, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm in rare form today, but I'm happy. How are you?
I'm well. I'm fully caffeinated on an empty stomach, which is one of my favorite ways to be. So I am at the peak of my day right now. I'm was our last episode was glimmers. Before that was menstrual phases. So I
Cycle.
think I'm in a pre-ovulation. So I'm feeling really good. And my mom reached out to me earlier, let me pick you up and go for a walk. And I was filming this, so I couldn't, but I think I'm going to go for a walk today later.
Nice. I was thinking about getting a bike ride in. We'll see.
I need a bike. Yeah, that'd be fun. Good workout.
I love it.
Yeah. You look so cute when you rollerblade.
I love rollerblading, but it does it hurts my lower back. And I don't know if there's something I need to do, like position my body differently. But when I bike, I don't have that. I think I lean forward when I rollerblade.
Maybe different
That would be
rollerblades or
my dog
something.
barking. I
Maybe
think I
it
need to
won't
squat
matter.
more.
Yeah. Even with just some low weights or without weights at first, just calisthenics. Okay. Well, I guess here we go. We can dive right into it. I've introduced people to my kids in the past, and I regret almost everybody that I've ever introduced my kids to. I guess there's probably a couple, that have really treated us good. My kids got along with. But the downfall to that is, of course, you break up and then your kids are attached and they're attached.
Yeah.
I think my son's been more affected by it than my daughter because he's just more outgoing and older. So, and plus he's a male, so they just had more to relate to and bond over.
True.
I went to these relationships, kind of blindly and impulsively, hoping that it would work. I didn't spend a lot of time, I don't think, considering values, their lifestyle, their extended family, and how they behave and how my kids would be exposed to them, on holidays or get-togethers, whatever. So, yeah, moving forward, it would take a lot for me to introduce someone to my kids now. I mean, my son's about to be 15, my daughter's about to be 11. I don't think I'm happy with keeping my dating life completely separate from being a mom now, honestly. If I could go back, I wouldn't I wouldn't expose them to any of it.
Do you think, given your experience, have you kind of developed more of a criteria or a timeline for yourself for the future if you were to introduce someone again?
I think it probably takes a good 6 months to a year to really get to know somebody, and I think that you need to ask them, a lot of hard questions or just questions in general about, you know, are you guys gonna wanna have your own children together? You have to consider if they have children and how they parent their children or how their children behave when they're not gonna be in your household versus in your household. Are the rules the same?
Have you dated someone that doesn't have kids? Like, while you've had kids?
Yes.
And
And
okay.
so I don't feel like they really it I think there's pros and cons to that because, it's just about you and your kids. And
Mhm.
they're not bringing in the extra baggage with their kids. I shouldn't call it baggage, it's a negative word. But they're not bringing they don't have kids to bring in, they don't have an ex, because a lot of people don't co-parent well, a lot of people don't have healthy relationships
Yeah,
with their exes, and so it was great, because they didn't have just, that extra stuff going on, but it was also they didn't understand kids,
right.
and it seemed like a lot of them had some emotional immaturity more so than a man with kids in that aspect, I think. Have you
Did
ever
you ever experience them getting, like, jealous of the time that you invest into your kids? Like, did they not have that, like, understanding? I feel like other parents understand, like, "Hey, my kids come first," but someone that doesn't have kids might expect you to give more than you're able to.
I've never dealt with jealousy from that aspect, but I have one guy told me once, like and my son was legit sick, and I was like, "I'm sorry, I gotta cancel on you tonight, my son's not feeling well," and he's like, "You're just using that excuse so you can go fuck somebody else," and I'm like, "Okay,
Oh, Jesus.
you're done."
No.
So that was, like,
That's wild.
the only weird thing that popped into my mind about something like that. That was a long time ago, like, 10 years ago, probably.
Oh, goodness.
Do you think that there's a difference between a dad dating a single mom versus a woman dating or a man, I should say, dating a single mom? It doesn't have to be a dad, but versus a woman dating a single dad. Do you think that there would be
I think there tends to be. I think because women tend to and mothers tend to take on the majority of, like, no matter what your custody agreement is, women take on the majority of the emotional and, like, psychological work that goes along with raising children, like scheduling all the doctor's appointments and
Mhm.
all the things that you don't think of outside of these are my days and these are your days. And I feel like dads tend to get off, not all dads, but in my experience, what I've seen is a lot of dads aren't as involved with their children. So I feel like if you're someone that's dating a single mom, you should probably expect that she's got a lot on her plate. But I have dated single dads before who I felt more involved with their kids than they were. Like, I dated someone who I ended up watching his kids for him so he could go to play a soccer game, so he could go to work, and I'm like, "What am I doing here?
Yeah.
Am I your babysitter?"
Yeah. And, I think that needs to be a discussion because if you are to be with somebody that's a single parent, like I've been in like my last relationship, he was and in so many ways he was great with my kids and they loved him and I felt like I knew that they were safe with him. And so if I was working, like he if he was here, like he would take some of that responsibility and like weight off me, giving them
That's
rides
awesome.
or getting them something to eat. And so when you're with someone with kids, I don't really look at it as like, "Oh, you're my babysitter," but it's you're gonna have to inherit some responsibility. I th
Yeah, that's true.
and usually it is, the moms, you're right, like, there's not many dynamics where dads are making doctor's appointments and being the first contact for kids to be picked up from school if they're sick, and
Mhm.
packing lunches, doing all the laundry. I mean, everything that comes along with running a household on top of being a parent.
Right.
I think that I'm trying to see things more from a man's perspective, like that would come into a relationship with a single mom. Like um in my situation, a man comes into my life and he now has it's not just me, it's my kids. I think men kind of take on I've heard guys say I don't like to date single moms, like we have to take more of a
Mhm.
financial burden. you have to play more the role of the parent if, if the mom has the kids full time, and
Mhm.
so it completely is going to change their lifestyle being with someone that has kids. But, like you said, like you dated that guy that had a child, and you were basically that in that role too, as like stepmom role. And you're like, what am I doing here? Yeah. There needs to be a
I mean, I
conversation.
enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
it was very quick, like, I met his kids too quickly.
Right.
I became
Right.
the stepmom role too quickly. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but looking back on it, like, I wish we wouldn't have gone about it that way because I did
Mhm.
develop such a deep bond with his kids, and when our relationship failed, that was the most heartbreaking part was never seeing his girls again.
Yeah. I've, is that the only situation you've been in where you got attached to somebody's kids like that?
When I was really young, just turned 21, I was dating someone, I wanna say he was, like, 17 years older than me,
Mhm.
and his kids were closer to my age than he was. His
It
daughter was only, like, 6 years younger than me.
it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, and so I I was already friends with their family, like, I was really, like, best friends with his brother, so I grew up with their whole family, and I grew up with his kids since they were little, so when we did break up, it was like it was this awkwardness because 'cause I'm still friends with his brother, I'm still
Mhm.
gonna see them places, so it was weird, I guess.
Are you still friends with him now?
I'm friends with his kids.
Yeah, right, that's what I meant, like, yeah.
Yeah, him, no, and his brother, no, because he ended up being a shitty dad, so
Hmm. You'll have to
yeah,
tell
I
me
think
his
there's
name
so
later.
many, like, variables when dating someone that has kids, like, it's the age of the kids, that plays a huge role in, like, how quickly or how do you tell your kid you're dating, if you have a
Mhm.
toddler, you're not gonna tell them you're dating, but you have, a 15-year-old, they know what dating is, so then it's a different conversation. We
Yes.
kinda mentioned the co-parenting aspect. Do you have full custody of your kids? Do you have partial custody of your kids? Is there time when, like, people that have partial custody, then they have some time to, like, have dates, have someone come to the house when their kids aren't there or whatever it
Mhm.
might be. When you've got full custody, like, you're having to get creative with how you're gonna see this person, spend time, invest in them, and still keep it separate from your kids until you're ready.
Oh, yeah. Now, there's no way. I mean, I honestly cannot imagine getting into another, like, traditional monogamous relationship and doing it all over again, and introducing someone to my kids, bringing them to my family, having them over for dinner. I don't think there's any way. I don't think my son would ever accept it again. He's 15 now. There ain't no way.
You don't think
And
you're gonna have another traditional relationship?
I think I need to focus on being a mom and raising my kids and having my dating life completely separate from being a mom. So, yeah, like I have my kids full time. I do have to
Mhm.
get creative if I ever go out on a date or something that's not here.
Yeah,
They don't know what I'm doing or who I'm going out with. I've developed just a different mindset about that now because of the failed relationships I've had and the impact that's had on my kids.
yeah.
But they're in the past, blending families, I mean, like, I dated one guy that had a son, and he was just a little shit, mean to my daughter,
Oh, no.
and
Yeah, that's like do the kids get along?
oh, girl, not always.
Mm-mm.
Kids would have different rules, you know? They're with their mom all week long doing whatever, and then they come over here, and so I really discussed with your partner, okay, like, what are the rules, especially if you're moving in together and you have a healthy relationship with them and you're at that point where you wanna start blending your family. What rules do you have your kid when they're with you? A lot of dads feel really guilty for not having their kids all week, so when the kid's with them, it's like, "Okay, you have a Disneyland dad."
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, when my daughter was little, she'd come back and I would say, "I have to de-dadify her because she's
Yeah.
been at Disneyland Dad all weekend, and now you gotta come back to reality and have a routine and have a bedtime and eat good healthy food," and so
Mhm.
that is something to consider, like the rule sets and how do they co-parent with their ex?
Yes. Is
How
their ex not welcoming of another, like, some people do have, like, parenting agreements where, like, it says you cannot introduce the children to someone unless you are engaged or unless you've been dating for so long,
Mhm.
like, there some people get very specific.
And
So
that's
not
really
only that
smart.
part.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it is.
that's really smart. I and even if you don't have that agreement, if you have a good relationship with your ex and you co-parent well, I think it's reasonable to say, "Hey, I'm dating someone new. I wanna introduce them to the kids. How can we all mentally prepare them for that?" Because depending on the age that your child's at, it's gonna take a different type of emotional preparation.
Yeah. Have you ever dealt with the person you're dating, the other parent of their children, like, causing issues?
No. Like, the one well, she didn't like me. The one when I said the little boy was a little shit. Um, she didn't really like me, and so she would try to, like, use the kid as a pawn with the dad, like, "He can't go over there," which that I completely stayed out of it. I'm drama free, I don't got anything to say, that was between them. So that was the only one. I dated another guy, and he had a daughter a little bit older than my daughter, but a little bit younger than my son. She was such a sweetheart. She lived in another state. She ended up coming here for the summer with us one time, and I still think about her to this day. I hope she's doing well. Her dad, didn't work out with us, but she was a real sweet girl, and I really loved her and enjoyed her when she was here.
Hmm.
And she had a great home life. Her mom was they were from the South. She was super respectful, and the mom was I talked to the mom and her husband. I mean, they were just really all around good people. So that made it easy, and I tried to make it like a special time for here when she was here, because she lived so far away from her dad. So it did have to be a little bit different, I think, because, she only got to see him once a year.
I have experienced both where the other parent was completely, like, cordial and, like, I've told you before, like, I would go and pick up his kids from the mom.
Mhm.
She was very nice, like, there was no issues. Then I've been in other situations where, like, the mom actively tried to break us up for, you know what? She had her reasons, I'll say that,
Yeah.
because her and I used to be friends. So she hated me, and rightfully so.
Mhm.
And it was just constant conflict, and she would, play the child as a pawn between them, and there was no resolution. But he also told me, like, she's done that with other partners in the past that she didn't know.
Mhm.
So it was kind of her thing. So do you think that that is something you should disclose to someone you're dating? Like, I have a toxic father of my child, and
100%, especially if they're still actively toxic.
right.
I think, if people go through things like both my kids' dads, not gonna speak ill of them, I wouldn't bring up, like, the people they used to be in the early 20s and why like, they don't bother me anymore, so
Mhm.
but if they did, like, "Hey, full disclosure, your life's in danger."
Right.
You know? Be
Yeah, you should warn somebody about that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I got really lucky in my last relationship. His wife was great. She was so pleasant. She still came to family functions with her kids, and that family loves her. And I even brought my daughter over there, and she was very, like, accommodating to her, like, she was just a part of the family, and, I think his ex had a big problem with the baby mama ex-wife being there, but I didn't. Like, I had kids, I understood. I have a great relationship, with, like, the other side of my kids' families, so, like, I get it, and it wasn't a problem for me, but I I could see how it would be a strain, like, what if I were to have a problem with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and his family wants her there,
Mhm.
and then that's on you. And that's
Yeah.
what I think of, like, some people, especially if they don't have their own kids and then they're introduced into a situation like that, I think the automatic reaction for a lot of people is to get jealous or to be like, "Oh, I don't want this
Mhm.
person here." And that's maybe because they've never experienced a situation where, like, people cannot be together and still be cordial and still be friendly and still make it, holidays work for the kids and things
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, and his kids were older, like 20 and 16 or something, but I still, like, she's obviously been a part of this family for over 20 years, like, what am I
Mhm.
so it was just like, it was a very pleasant experience, and it just depends on what kind of mindset you have and how secure you feel in your relationship and your, I guess, jealousy threshold, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have here, like, how to mentally prepare your kids, which gosh, I'd always say, like, if I could go back, like, I've always done I think, a terrible job. Like, I'll just fully admit that. Like, that's why I say I would never again bring anybody else around my kids, but I like how you mentioned earlier about having, like, it set in court or how
Mhm.
you mentioned, like, talking to the other partner. I would I think it might be good, like, before you introduce your kids, just kinda talk about, "Hey, I have a new friend. I'm going to hang out with my friend so and so, whatever his name is, her name is," and kinda just, like, mentally prepare them that you do have somebody new in your life.
Mhm.
And then I would ask your kid, like, how they feel about meeting a new person before saying, "Hey, we're about to go meet this person."
Yeah.
Because are they ready? Some kids think that you're replacing their other parent, or they feel like their time is gonna be taken away, from you with them being around, and sometimes that
Mhm.
does happen.
Yeah, I think it's harder for younger kids to understand, like, that
Mhm.
parents need a partner and they need because when you're a kid, you think your parents, just need you and that's it. And what do you mean you need to spend time with someone else, until they get older and start,
Yeah,
getting in that dating mindset themselves.
right. Let's see what else. I lost my spot.
While you're looking for it, I found one about not forcing a bond and also making sure that that
Right.
first meeting is somewhere social. Like, don't just bring the person to your house, but
Yeah.
maybe you all go play putt putt or,
Mhm.
whatever, go to a park or something so that there's a little bit of distractions for the awkwardness that is bound to come. It gives the kids something to focus on if they don't want to focus on this person right away. And then something someone else said to help them form a bond is prepping your new partner with your kids' interests.
Oh, I
So
like that.
letting them know all the stuff your kids are into so that they have some
Mhm.
conversation starters and things to talk to your kids about.
Yeah, that's good. That's basically what I had on my list. I like the conversation starters for sure to let them know. What do you think about because I've never done it this way. So let's say I have kids, he has kids. Do we introduce, like, me to his kids first without my kids and then him alone? Or should we just do it all together at once?
I don't know. I
I don't
think probably either way is fine, I imagine.
make it like a group thing, even if you're having, like, a barbecue or something and bring all like, more friends and
Yeah.
family over just to kinda have that person around, like, in that setting just to get used to their face for a little while. Even before
Mhm.
you,
And I
I guess,
think,
introduce them as, like, a romantic partner, just they could just be a friend for a while.
girl, I remember when I was little and my dad had
Mm.
so many friends. And y I don't think he went about it the bad like, in a bad way. We would meet them like, "Oh, we'd go to lunch. Oh, we're going to lunch with my friend so and so."
Mhm.
I just thought my dad had a lot of friends that were girls. I was too young to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
But now, like, looking back on it, I'm like, "Damn." But,
yeah,
like, he never brought him to the house or anything, and he did a good job.
that's funny. Yeah, that's good though. I have some reasons here that blended families fail.
Ooh.
So, the new partner is a result of an affair.
Mm,
So, the child feels very betrayed.
absolutely. That's I don't know how you overcome that one.
Yeah. The new partner doesn't have children,
They
but
don't know what they're getting themselves
they
into
don't know what they're getting
sometimes.
themselves into, but they also already have their own opinions on how children should be raised. So,
Mhm.
they
And I
try to
mean,
overstep too much.
oh, yeah, overstepping too much. You have to like, me as a person who doesn't have kids, I do have ideas of if I had children, how I would want to raise them, but I also have the understanding that I don't have the full perspective of actually being a parent. So, I have all these grand ideas in my head. Would it actually play out when I raise children? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But you have to ask your partner, the person that has the kids, how they parent and what's important to them, and if you're not okay with their parenting style, I would highly suggest reconsidering that relationship because,
Yeah.
like, I don't believe in corporal punishment. If I'm dating someone that's whipping their kids, I absolutely cannot date that person
Mhm.
because that's like a deep thing that feel strongly about. But, if it's something like the way they let them eat snack foods or what, like some things are not as important.
Yeah. Yeah, I put the new partners, like, attempts to discipline, and it's not the same parenting style. They when the child hears the parent and the new partner talk negatively about the other
The other
parent.
parent,
Mhm, and
that's a
then
big no-no.
yeah, and then they're about to go back and tell their mama what they
Absolutely.
heard.
You should never talk badly about
Mm-mm.
the other parent in front of your child. Let them
Right.
make their own decision.
Yeah. You know, children do get jealous, and if you used to every night, like, my daughter and I, every night we watch an episode of The Walking Dead. She loves that show. We've already seen it. It's our time together, and
Mhm.
it's something that we both enjoy. Now, if I were to have a new partner and they were to start coming over in my life, like, keep those allotted times because, sometimes
Yes.
parents stop doing those little alone time activities with their kids and because their partner's always there.
Mhm.
Mm, I have like the children don't get along with the new parents' children.
Yeah.
And like if they're different ages or just into different things, maybe one's a bully, maybe one's not. But a lot of times relationships fail because kids just can't get their shit together.
Oh, yeah.
I so when I dated this one guy that had a daughter that I loved very much, he had some issues and he liked a very quiet home, and he didn't realize how loud and noisy it was going to be with kids here all the time, and then adding his kid here, it was, like, too much for him, he couldn't take it. So if you're used to a calm, quiet morning and then a calm, quiet evening, kids are gonna completely disrupt all that.
Yeah, because he only had his daughter during the summer, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he had a lot of free time to
He
himself.
did,
So
and
even if that other person is a parent, they might not have the same kind of parenting plan as you, and
yeah,
it might be a shocker for them
yeah,
to have children all the time.
for sure. And the last one I have is, kids aren't allowed to talk about the other parent in the home anymore because that you're like, let's say that my daughter comes home and she's like, I went to the daddy-daughter dance with my dad and I had such a great time," and my ex would be jealous because she's talking about her dad and where that's happened
Oh
to me
god.
before. Yeah, and so you can't be jealous of the
Absolutely not. That's their
I
dad.
mean,
They're a very important person to
yeah,
them.
well, people are weird and
Yeah, that's true.
there's 2 websites I have here that and I know you have a website as well. We can, just attach some information to this podcast if you wanna read up on more ways to blend families, dating a single parent, all of that. One from Psychology Today, this website talked about how to know when your child's ready, how to help children process divorce and separation, and bringing in a new partner depending on their age and how to introduce your new partner. And then I have another one from Our Family Wizard, introducing your new partner with kids, relationships after divorce, and blending families.
Awesome. Yeah, and I found a bunch too. I kind of felt like I wasn't really the expert on this topic and I was going to lean on you, so I definitely did some research and pulled some articles that we'll link in the show notes.
I'm definitely not an expert. I've had no successful blended family, so please, I am 100% absolutely not an expert at this. I don't think anybody is an expert at this.
No, yeah, that's
But
true. Nobody's an expert,
but
but
I've
you have
learned I have
experience.
experience, too much of it. Honestly, I wish I didn't have this much experience, and I definitely know what not to do now, and it's just all a learning process. I mean, I'm sure a lot of single moms, single dads, we've made our mistakes, and I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
we can do but move forward
You
and
can't
not make
change the
this.
past, but
Yeah.
I think something that is beautiful as a parent to do with your kids is to, dependent on their age, but to have that conversation with, you know
Mhm.
what? I realized that I went about some things in a way that I am not proud of, and I want to apologize to you for that. And it might be an opener for future conversation. Like if I was to date someone in the future, what are your preferences on
Mhm.
meeting someone and open up that conversation with your kids?
For sure. 100%, and I have had those hard conversations with my kids because they get attached to people. Kids get attached to the person that you're with, and
Yeah.
there's been times, especially my son has been upset. I feel like my daughter more so often, she's like, "Oh, good, I get you back all to myself. Like, let's go to Starbucks, girl." She's like, "Pfft." But my
Yeah.
son is more, has more so been attached. So, yeah, definitely have those conversations with your kids. Just apologize to them too because they hurt just like you do, and it's a lot for them to go through. So, just here to try to do better, share our stories and all of that. Anything else you wanna share?
I don't think so. I was trying to. Oh, I did. There was one aspect I wanted to bring up because you and I talked about this. The last person I dated that had a kid, after dating people with kids, I was very firm on that I wanted to wait until we were sure about this relationship until I met
Mhm.
their children. That was my perspective because I had, grown attached to a previous partner's kids. I didn't want that to happen again. I didn't want the kids to get hurt. And I wanted us as adults to really be sure about the relationship. So I expressed those concerns to the person I was dating, but they had different ideas. They wanted to know before they could be sure about me how I interacted with their kid and how their kid, did their kid like me? And I do get both sides of that because, I mean, yeah, you wanna see, is this person gonna be a good step parent? And you really just gotta come to an agreement. Now, that person crossed a boundary I set with them, and they actually brought their kid to a function without telling me. So I met them without, like, being prepared, so
Mhm.
absolutely don't go about it that way. But you're gonna have to come to, like, a common ground of, like, "Okay, I see that you want me to meet your child so that you can see how we interact, but also I need to know that, like, you're thinking long term about this, and that's the road we're on." And I think it all just comes down to there is no right answer. You just gotta figure out what works for you and your family.
That's very true. I have heard I used to kind of have that mindset in the past, like, "Well, we don't know unless we try," you know? Let's just but it was such like I went into it so blindly with no plan. I didn't have any I don't know, like, counseling during that time. I wasn't in therapy. My kids were younger, so, I wasn't I don't know, but I'm with you there. I think that there needs to be, "Hey, I need to get to know you for, like, 6 months to a year before you bring your kids in," and shame on him for doing that. 'Cause what
I
the fuck?
mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
That's all I had.
okay. I think, uh I think we covered quite a bit. I think you're right, there is no right answer. We all just do the best that we can, you know.
Absolutely, and we live and we learn, and unfortunately, people get hurt in the process, and that's just life.
It is. It surely is. Oh, we hope that
Well, thank
everybody
you all for listening. Definitely like and subscribe if you have not already, wherever you get your podcasts.
and you can also find us on YouTube.
Namaste.
Namaste.